Before the world ever began with an explosion, before time itself knew that it was flowing, perhaps the very first thing to exist was stillness. Tonight, if you are feeling tired of thoughts that refuse to slow down, tired of long days of expectations, of the constant noise of a world that keeps asking you to move faster, understand more, become more, then you do not need to try any harder. This video does not come to make you smarter. It comes to allow you to slow down. We will not speak of the Big Bang as a physics lesson. We will tell it as a very distant story, so distant that your worries begin to feel smaller, and your mind can breathe again, perhaps for the first time today. When humans look up at the night sky, we often ask, where did the universe begin? But beneath that question, there is always another quieter one whispering underneath. Where am I in all of this? Carl Jung once wrote, who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. Tonight, we will do both. We will look outward into the vast universe so the mind can grow lighter, and we will look inward so you do not need to carry any answers with you into sleep. Let this story move slowly. You do not need to follow it. Just listen and let the universe do the rest. When we look up at the night sky, the first thing we usually feel is not knowledge, but distance. A very peculiar kind of distance. Not measured in meters, not measured in light years, but measured in sensation, the distance between us and something vastly larger than the scale of everyday life. The stars hanging quietly against that deep black backdrop seem to open another kind of space, a place where time slows down, where questions are allowed to exist without demanding immediate answers. For a very long time, humans have looked to the sky in search of meaning. Our ancestors watched the stars to mark the seasons, to navigate the seas, to weave mythological stories. But alongside this, something else gradually took shape, the illusion of wholeness. Standing beneath a sky full of stars, it is easy to feel as though we are seeing the universe itself, as if everything that exists is laid out before us, contained within our field of vision. In truth, we are only looking from inside a single galaxy. The Milky Way, our cosmic home, stretches like a faint, misty river across the night sky. Hundreds of billions of stars, countless planets, clouds of gas cosmic dust, and vast bottomless voids. Yet even when it seems to fill the entire sky above us, the Milky Way is still only a very small structure within a much larger picture. Realizing this is not meant to make us feel insignificant or meaningless, but to dissolve an invisible pressure, the pressure to be at the center of everything. Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote in Beyond Good and Evil, "He who fights with monsters should be careful lest he thereby become a monster. And if you gaze long into an abyss, the abyss also gazes into you." But perhaps when we look into the universe, it is not the universe that gazes back at us. Perhaps it is the silence within us that finally begins to speak. Night is one of the rare moments when the world allows us to slow down. The light softens, the sounds thin out, the demands to respond, to decide, to prove ourselves temporarily fall away, and in that quiet interval, the night sky becomes a vast mirror. Not one that reflects our faces, but one that reflects the limits of human understanding. We are accustomed to living inside narrow frames, work roles, goals, plans. The modern mind rarely rests because it is constantly being pulled forward. But when we look up at the sky, especially when we realize that we are seeing only a very small fragment of reality, something gentle happens we are allowed not to know. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself in Meditations, "Observe constantly that all things take place by change, and accustom yourself to consider that the nature of the universe loves nothing so much as to change the things which are, and to make new things like them." To gaze at the night sky is also a way of practicing that acceptance, accepting that we do not control the entire picture and that we do not need to. There is a deep kind of healing in realizing that our worries, however real and heavy they may be, are unfolding within a space unimaginably small compared to the universe itself. Not to deny our pain, but to place it within a wider context where it no longer occupies the whole of the mind. As Carl Jung wrote in The Undiscovered Self, the least of things with a meaning is worth more in life than the greatest of things without it. Meaning does not always come from understanding everything. Sometimes it comes from loosening our grip on the need to understand. As you lie there, perhaps on your bed, perhaps in a quiet room, listening to this story, you do not need to picture exactly how large the Milky Way is or how vast the universe might be. What matters more is the feeling of placing yourself within a larger current, one in which you are not the controller, but simply a part that is being carried along. Dostoevsky once let a character say in The Brothers Karamazov, "The mystery of human existence lies not in just staying alive, but in finding something to live for." And sometimes that something is not a specific goal at all, but simply this moment breathing more slowly, listening, existing without being demanded of. The night sky does not ask you to understand it. It does not require you to name every star or remember every scientific concept. It simply exists vast, deep, and silent. And within that silence, the human mind is given a rare opportunity to soften like the surface of a lake settling when the wind has finally stopped. Perhaps the true beginning of the cosmic journey does not lie in the Big Bang, but in the moment humanity first realized this, we are not the center of everything, yet we still have a place within the whole. A small and fragile place, but enough to feel, enough to contemplate, and enough to rest. Tonight, as you allow this story to continue flowing, notice what begins to slow down inside you. There is no need to force anything, no need to conclude. Just allow yourself to remain in this space where the night sky is no longer a question, but becomes a very ancient, very gentle lullaby. Once our eyes have grown accustomed to the night sky after that first moment of awe and quiet wonder, a new question begins to rise very slowly. Where am I standing within all of this? The initial sense of being overwhelmed fades, replaced by a deeper need, the need to locate oneself. And it is here that the natural flow of thought gently leads us from the boundless sky back toward a concept that feels closer, though it still stretches far beyond imagination, the Milky Way. The Milky Way is often called our home. It is a name that sounds warm, even intimate, yet this home is unlike anything we have ever known. It spans roughly 100,000 light-years, holding hundreds of billions of stars, along with countless planets, star systems, clouds of dust, and deep regions of darkness where light rarely reaches. Compared to the room where you may be lying now listening to these words, the Milky Way is not merely larger, it is different in nature. It was not built for humans to live in, yet humans belong to it. What is striking is this, vast as it is, the Milky Way is still only a very small structure. Recognizing this can cause a subtle disorientation of the mind. We are used to thinking of home as a center, as a place of safety and importance. But in the universe, even a home that contains hundreds of billions of suns is not something exceptional. It is simply one among countless other galaxies quietly drifting through space. This transition from familiarity to an awareness of smallness does not have to be frightening. On the contrary, it can be deeply healing. For when we stop seeing ourselves as the center, an invisible burden is gently set down. Carl Jung once wrote, "In modern man in search of a soul, the pendulum of the mind oscillates between sense and nonsense, not between right and wrong." Perhaps in this journey, the Milky Way serves as a point of balance between what we can feel and what we will never fully understand. Imagine the Milky Way as a vast river of light, slowly spiraling across billions of years. Our sun is only a quiet speck resting far from the center. This carries a subtle but powerful message: we do not need to be at the center in order for our existence to have meaning. In a world that constantly urges us to stand out to be someone, the universe whispers something entirely different. Marcus Aurelius once wrote in Meditations, "Begin the morning by saying to thyself, I shall meet with busybody, the ungrateful, arrogant, deceitful, envious, unsocial." He was speaking of the inevitable frictions of human life. But if we pull the perspective farther back out to the scale of the Milky Way, we may see that these frictions are only small ripples within a very long current. Not to diminish them, but to keep them from filling the entire inner sky. There is a gentle paradox here. The Milky Way makes us feel smaller, and at the same time it makes us feel held. As if no matter how fragile our individual lives may be, they are unfolding within a structure that has existed for billions of years and will continue long after we are gone. That thought, rather than rendering us meaningless, can offer a profound kind of comfort. We are not alone in our finitude. Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote in "Thus spoke Zarathustra, one must still have chaos in oneself to be able to give birth to a dancing star." The Milky Way stands as a living testament to this idea. Beneath its ordered beauty lies immense chaos stars being born and dying, systems colliding, reorganizing, dissolving, and forming again. Chaos is not the opposite of order, it is the condition that allows order to emerge. As you listen to these words in the night, your own mind may be carrying its private forms of chaos, unfinished thoughts, unnamed emotions. But when placed within the context of the Milky Way, perhaps there is no need to rush to tidy them away. Like stars, they have their own cycles. Some things only need permission to exist, and in time they find their proper shape. Dostoevsky once left behind a simple yet profound line in Notes from Underground: "To live without hope is to cease to live." Hope in this sense is not the expectation of a specific outcome. Sometimes it is nothing more than a quiet trust that we are lying in the right place within a greater flow, that existing, however small, is still a valid part of the whole. And from this home, the story will continue to widen. The Milky Way does not stand alone. It has neighbors, communities, and even larger structures waiting to be revealed. But before moving on, perhaps it is worth lingering here a little longer in the feeling of being inside a vast home, not to possess it, but to belong. If you are beginning to feel sleepy, let that happen. You do not need to remember all the numbers or picture the exact size of the Milky Way. Just hold on to this feeling you are lying still on a small planet orbiting an ordinary star within a vast galaxy. And all of this is unfolding quietly without asking anything more of you. From the vast home where we just paused the Milky Way, the flow of thought does not end with a sense of belonging. Once the mind grows accustomed to the idea that we live on the outskirts of a great galaxy, another question opens gently: do we have neighbors? And if so, how far away are they? It is at this moment that the human mind begins to touch Andromeda, the nearest neighboring galaxy hanging quietly in space like an ancient memory that has never faded. Andromeda lies about 2.5 million light-years away. The number may sound abstract, but its meaning is deeply personal. Because when you see Andromeda in the night sky with the naked eye under sufficiently dark conditions, you are not seeing its present. The light touching your retina tonight left that galaxy at a time when humans had not yet learned to farm, had not learned to write, had not yet learned to ask questions about themselves. You are looking at a fragment of the past that reaches deeper than the collective memory of our species. That thought carries a strange kind of power. It loosens time from clocks and calendars. Time becomes a wide current where our personal moments, joy, sorrow, worry, hope, are only very small ripples. And yet, rather than erasing us, this awareness can soften something inside. For if the universe is vast enough to carry light across millions of years, then our emotions, however heavy they feel, do not need to carry everything all at once. Henri Bergson once wrote in Time and Free Will, "Time is not a line, but a melody." Andromeda is a very low note in that symphony, a note that stretches across millions of years, sounding slowly, steadily, without urgency. When we listen to it, the rhythm of our own lives is allowed to slow down as well. There is a peculiar intimacy in knowing that this light has crossed cold space, nameless voids to arrive at your eyes on this very night. Not because you are special, but because the universe does not discriminate. It simply continues to move, and we happen to be a point of contact along a very long journey. Realizing this, we can loosen our need to be the center of our own life story. Carl Jung once wrote in Memories, Dreams, Reflections, "In the last analysis, the essential thing is the life of the individual." Yet that essential life is not separate from a wider context. Placing our personal existence beside Andromeda does not make it smaller, it only makes it less lonely. The Andromeda galaxy also carries a future within it. It is moving toward the Milky Way very slowly, very steadily. In a few billion years, the two galaxies will collide and merge. But what matters here is this: a collision on a cosmic scale is nothing like the accidents we know. It is not sudden, not violent. It unfolds over hundreds of millions of years, like a long dance, a blending rather than a destruction. This idea can become a gentle metaphor for human life. Profound changes rarely happen in an instant. They require time, quiet intervals, movements so slow that we only recognize them when we look back. Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself in Meditations, "Time is a sort of river of passing events, and strong is its current." But sometimes healing is not found in swimming against that current, but in allowing oneself to drift gently with it. When we hear about Andromeda, we may glimpse a very soft truth. Our present moment is not the center of time. There is a far deeper past behind us and a far longer future ahead. Between the two, each human life is only a brief passage. Yet that brief passage still has value, not because it lasts, but because it is felt. Dostoevsky once wrote, "In the idiot beauty will save the world." Perhaps the beauty he meant was not perfection, but the ability to touch something beyond the self. Andromeda, with its ancient light, offers such a beauty. Not dazzling, not dramatic, simply present. If you are lying there now listening to this story in the night, try to imagine that the light from Andromeda began its journey when humans had not yet learned to name their sorrow. And yet, it still arrived here. Just as you have, passing through many days, many thoughts to reach this moment, there is nothing more you need to do, nothing you need to fully understand. From the Milky Way, our home, to Andromeda, the distant neighbor, the story expands not only across space, but across time. And when time is stretched in this way, the human mind can rest, not by escaping life, but by placing it within a frame wide enough that it no longer takes our breath away. If your eyelids are growing heavy, let that happen. The light of Andromeda has been patient for millions of years. You do not need to hurry for even one more minute. From the ancient light of Andromeda, the flow of thought does not stop at the feeling of time stretching endlessly. Once we grow accustomed to the idea that we are looking into the deep past of the universe, another door quietly opens, not in the sky itself, but in the way humans understand the sky. And at that threshold lies a very special moment in the history of thought, the moment when astronomy awakened. For a long time, humans believed that the Milky Way was the entire universe. The faint smudges in the night sky were called nebulae, clouds of gas drifting somewhere within our cosmic home. This idea carried a sense of familiarity, even comfort. The universe, though vast, still fit within a conceptual frame. We could name it, we could imagine that we understood it. Then Edwin Hubble appeared, not loudly, not with revolutionary declarations. He simply looked more closely. Through careful observation, he realized that some of those nebulae were far too distant to belong to the Milky Way. They were not clouds within our home. They were independent galaxies, separate star worlds, each carrying billions of suns of its own. That moment was like the first realization that Earth is not the center of all motion. There was no collapse, no immediate tragedy. Only a quiet expansion of awareness, and with it, a subtle sense of emptiness. When the old frame is no longer wide enough, the mind must learn how to exist within a new space. Edwin Hubble once said, equipped with his 5 senses, man explores the universe around him and calls the adventure science. That adventure is not only about stars, but about humility. For with every new understanding comes the realization of how little we once knew. There is something deeply familiar here, something that mirrors inner life. We often build comfortable stories about ourselves, about the world, about our place within it. These stories help us survive. They give structure. But sometimes a single experience, a new insight, an unexpected question, and suddenly they are no longer enough. And we find ourselves at a crossroads, to close inward or to expand. The awakening of astronomy was also the moment humanity had to accept that the universe is far larger than our sense of safety. Not one galaxy, but countless galaxies. Not one home, but innumerable structures drifting through space. This truth can feel overwhelming, and yet it can also feel strangely lightening. Blaise Pascal once wrote in Pensée, "The eternal silence of these infinite spaces frightens me. That fear is real. But it is also a sign of a mind awakening to something beyond itself. The silence of the universe does not threaten us. It simply does not concern itself with human measures." When Hubble announced his discovery, the universe itself did not change. Only the story we told about it did. And in that lies a gentle lesson. Sometimes the world remains the same, only our perspective has widened. The old sadness is still there. The old joy is still there. But when placed within a larger space, they no longer suffocate the mind as they once did. Carl Jung wrote in, "The archetypes and the collective unconscious consciousness does not create itself, it wells up from unknown depths. An awakening is not something we force, it rises." Just as astronomy realized that nebulae did not belong to the Milky Way, we too may realize that many things we once believed to be everything are in truth only a small part. As you listen to this story in the night, you do not need to remember Hubble's name or the scientific details. What matters more is the feeling of standing at the edge of an expansion. As if your mind has been gently reminded it is all right not to understand everything yet. It is all right if old stories no longer fit. There is room to breathe here. From Andromeda, the light of the past, to Hubble, the expansion of understanding the narrative shifts from what we see to how we understand. And within that shift, humanity begins to step away from the center of the picture. Not to disappear, but to be placed where it belongs, a small observer capable of learning how to listen. Marcus Aurelius once wrote in Meditations, "Accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny, for what could more aptly fit your needs." Perhaps the universe being larger than we imagined is part of that pattern, a quiet reminder that we do not have to carry the burden of understanding everything in order to be allowed to rest. If your eyelids are growing heavy, let this story dissolve into sleep. The awakening of astronomy does not ask you to stay more alert. On the contrary, it whispers that in a universe so vast, you are allowed to loosen your grip and let understanding continue to grow even while you sleep. From the moment astronomy awakened, when humanity realized that the familiar nebulae were in fact independent galaxies, the picture of the universe expanded in a way that could never be reversed. Yet what is striking is this, that expansion did not occur through overwhelming leaps, but through very small, very slow steps. Once we accepted that the Milky Way was not everything, the mind naturally formed a gentler question. If there is not only one galaxy, then who are we with? And so the idea of the local group emerged not as a dramatic revelation, but as a quiet, almost deliberate whisper. The Milky Way, Andromeda, and several dozen smaller galaxies are bound together by gravity, drifting as a modest community within the vast universe. There is no center of power. No galaxy truly dominates. There are only stellar structures quietly holding one another in place, as if understanding that in such an immense space, closeness itself becomes a form of safety. This idea easily touches the human experience. We often grow up with the illusion that we must be the center of a family, of a career, of some larger story. But over time, we come to realize that life does not work that way. We exist within small groups, a few familiar relationships, a limited community, a world just large enough for us to be seen and accepted. The universe's local group, in a very gentle way, reflects this truth. Hannah Arendt once wrote, "In the human condition, men are conditioned beings because everything they come in contact with turns immediately into a condition of their existence. Our existence is always relational. Just as the Milky Way does not drift alone in the darkness, human beings rarely live in true isolation. We are shaped by what and by whom is close to us." What makes the local group special is not its scale. Compared to superclusters, it is a very small structure, yet it is precisely this smallness that makes it feel tangible. In a universe with trillions of galaxies, knowing that our home belongs to a small group offers a kind of comfort that is difficult to name. Not because we are important, but because we are not completely lost. Perhaps one of the great exhaustions of modern life is the feeling of having to stand alone before too many things, too much information, too many choices, too many expectations. But the universe, in its very slow way, tells a different story. Galaxies do not exist in isolation. They gather, they hold one another, they influence each other across spans of time so vast they are hard to imagine. As if the universe itself understands that even the largest structures need community. Martin Buber once wrote, "In I and thou, all real living is meeting." Perhaps the local group is such a meeting on a cosmic scale. Not a loud encounter, but a long, persistent presence. The Milky Way and Andromeda are moving toward each other very slowly, very surely. Yet for billions of years before they merge, they maintain just enough distance, no collision, no dissolution, simply coexisting. That just enough distance is something humans are always learning. Too close and we dissolve into one another. Too far and we lose our way. The local group is not a single uniform mass, but a collection of differences bound by an invisible force. This carries a soft message. Connection does not require sameness. It only requires being close enough not to drift away. When we place ourselves within this context, many everyday anxieties can begin to soften. Comparisons, competition, the fear of being left behind all arise from the belief that we are standing alone in an empty expanse. But when we widen the view just a little, we may realize that we are always part of some local group in life. Family, friends, strangers sharing the same space, the same moment. Carl Jung once wrote, "In Man and His Symbols, loneliness does not come from having no people around, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to oneself." The universe's local group does not communicate with words, but with motion. And for humans, perhaps simply knowing that we are being held within some structure is enough to feel a little less alone. As the narrative continues from the awakening of astronomy to the idea of cosmic community, we can sense a very subtle shift from awareness to connection. The universe is not only vast, it is structured. And within that structure, there is room for small groups, for modest relationships, for communities that do not need to stand out in order to exist. If you are listening to these words in the night, you may also be within a local group of your own, whether you are aware of it or not. Perhaps it is the people sleeping under the same sky as you. Perhaps it is those who once touched your life and then moved on. There is no need to name them, no need to arrange them. Baruch Spinoza once wrote in Ethics, "Nothing in nature is random. Even the fact that you are listening to this story in this moment is a kind of convergence. Just as galaxies gather within the local group, you and your thoughts are temporarily close to one another, and that is enough. From here, the journey will continue to expand from this small group toward larger, more distant structures. But before moving on, allow yourself to remain a little longer within this quiet humility. The feeling that you do not need to be at the center of the universe to be allowed to rest. You only need to be in your rightful place within a community small enough, calm enough for sleep to arrive naturally. From the small community where we just paused the local group with its few dozen familiar galaxies, the current of thought does not stop at a sense of closeness. Once the mind has accepted that even our home is only a part of a small group, a deeper question quietly emerges. What do these small groups belong to? And here, the cosmic picture unfolds another layer, the Virgo supercluster. The Virgo supercluster is not something intuition can easily grasp. It is not a single object. It has no clear edge, no center that can be easily named. It is a vast structure where thousands of galaxies, including our own local group, are bound together by gravity, stretching across hundreds of millions of light years. A slow, heavy network, almost motionless when measured by a human lifetime, yet always in motion when seen through cosmic time. There is something distinctly different when we move from a group to a supercluster. If the local group evokes a sense of community, Virgo brings a sense of structure. These are no longer intimate connections, but a larger order where each galaxy, whether aware of it or not, drifts along invisible currents. This feeling closely mirrors the moment when humans realize that they belong not only to family or friends, but also to larger systems, history, culture, and era. Georg Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel once wrote in The Phenomenology of Spirit, "Nothing great in the world has been accomplished without passion." Yet in the image of the Virgo supercluster, we encounter something almost opposite. The greatest things require no passion at all. They form slowly, quietly, without awareness of themselves. Virgo does not intend to become a supercluster. It is simply the natural result of gravity, of time, of matter gathering within an expanding universe. This realization offers a deep kind of comfort. For if even structures of such immense scale do not need purpose or intention in order to exist, then perhaps human beings do not need to constantly ask where they are going or who they are meant to become. There are seasons of life in which simply drifting in the right direction is enough. When we place ourselves within the Virgo supercluster, the sense of self continues to soften, not erased, but diluted. We are no longer only an individual within a family or a planet within a galaxy, but a very small part of a structure we ourselves cannot fully perceive. Paradoxically, this is what allows the mind to rest. There is no longer the pressure to understand everything, to control everything. Baruch Spinoza once wrote in Ethics, "Human beings are conscious of their desire, but ignorant of the causes by which that desire is determined." The Virgo supercluster resembles those causes on a cosmic scale, existing, operating without requiring human comprehension. For many, simply knowing that they are situated within a larger order is enough to feel less alone. There is something subtle in the way superclusters appear. They do not distinguish between brilliance and obscurity. Large and small galaxies coexist. Galaxies actively forming stars and galaxies long past their prime are held within the same web. There is no moral preference, no hierarchy of value, only position and motion. This can become a gentle reminder for human life, especially on nights when we feel not enough, unfinished, not quite right. In a supercluster, no galaxy is asked to shine brighter than another. Each simply needs to be there following its own orbit. Carl Jung once wrote in Psychological Types, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." Within the Virgo supercluster, these meetings are not personal, yet shared presence still creates lasting change. Galaxies influence one another, trajectories shift, structures evolve very slowly but irreversibly. Just as in human life, the deepest changes are rarely noticed while they are happening. Only in retrospect do we see that we have become different. As the narrative drifts from the local group to the Virgo supercluster, you may feel an expansion not only of space, but of the mind itself. Everything becomes less personal, less urgent. The question, "Who am I?" gives way to something broader. What am I within? Martin Heidegger once wrote, "In being and time, being is always the being of an entity." But here being is no longer a separate individual. It is presence within a vast network where each element exists alongside the others even without knowing them. If you are listening to these words late into the night, your mind may already be releasing the smaller stories of the day. Work plans, unfinished conversations, everything begins to blur. In their place comes a gentle drifting like the galaxies of the Virgo supercluster. No need to stop, no need to accelerate, simply continuing to exist. And from here, the flow will widen even further. The Virgo supercluster is not the largest structure. The universe holds broader networks, deeper voids, and larger questions still waiting ahead. But before moving on, allow yourself to remain in this feeling a little longer. The feeling that you do not need to carry the full weight of meaning on your shoulders. In a universe woven from structures this vast, the simple act of lying, still listening, and allowing sleep to arrive is already enough. From the Virgo supercluster, where thousands of galaxies drift together within a structure so vast that the mind must loosen its grip to even begin imagining it, the current of thought still does not end. Just when we think we have reached the limit of what can be called large, the universe quietly opens another door. Not through overwhelming imagery, but through a number vast enough to dissolve every familiar intuition, roughly 2 trillion galaxies in the observable universe. This number does not easily settle into the mind. We can repeat it, understand it conceptually, yet feeling it is something else entirely. 2 trillion is not something we have ever counted. It lies far beyond ordinary experience, beyond the number of people we have met, the years we have lived, even the number of thoughts we have had. And here, something very gentle happens. The mind stops trying to grasp and begins to let go. The observable universe is not the whole universe. It is only the portion whose light has had time to reach us since time itself began. Yet even this visible part contains a number of galaxies so immense that it resists full imagination. Each galaxy holds hundreds of billions of stars, and each star may carry planets in orbit. As this chain of thought unfolds, the human brain, so accustomed to small scales, begins to tire. But within that fatigue lies a gift: release. Immanuel Kant once wrote in Critique of Pure Reason, "Two things fill the mind with ever new and increasing admiration and awe. The oftener and more steadily we reflect on them, the starry heavens above me, and the moral law within me." Perhaps when facing 2 trillion galaxies, what fills the mind is not understanding, but a quiet form of awe, where thoughts no longer compete but settle. In daily life, the human mind often becomes trapped within very small frames. A problem, a decision, a worry. The mind circles them, enlarges them, makes them heavier than they need to be. But when these things are placed beside the scale of the observable universe, not to deny them, but to relieve their weight, we may breathe more easily. Not because our worries do not matter, but because they do not have to carry the full meaning of existence. Blaise Pascal once wrote in Pensées Man is but a reed the most feeble thing in nature, but he is a thinking reed. Among 2 trillion galaxies, human beings are indeed fragile, yet it is precisely the ability to recognize that fragility and still feel, still reflect that makes the human experience distinctive. There is a gentle paradox here. As the universe grows larger, the self becomes smaller, and at the same time, loneliness can begin to dissolve. For if existence is woven from countless such structures, then being a very small part of it is not an error, but something entirely natural. No galaxy is born to be the center. No star is tasked with lighting the entire sky. Carl Jung once wrote in The Undiscovered Self, "The individual is the one who has the awareness of self." But that awareness does not require greatness. It only asks that we be here in this moment, listening and allowing things to widen. When we hear about 2 trillion galaxies, a part of us may feel overwhelmed. yet another part may feel strangely freed. If the universe is already this vast, perhaps not every thought needs to be resolved right away. Not every question requires an answer before we are allowed to rest. The universe is not in a hurry. Light has traveled for billions of years to reach us. There is no reason for us to rush ourselves any further. In Meditations, Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Think of the whole of existence of which you are the smallest part." This is not meant to make us feel small in a negative sense. It is simply a reminder that when seen from far enough away, the turbulence of the mind can settle like the surface of the sea, smoothing out when viewed from above. By this point, the narrative has opened a very wide space, from a single galaxy to a group of galaxies to a supercluster, and now to the observable universe itself. Each expansion is not meant to overwhelm, but to soften the contraction of the mind. The limits we are used to living within time-space roles begin to loosen. Perhaps on this night, you do not need to imagine every galaxy. Just hold on to this feeling that what you are experiencing, however real and close it may feel, is unfolding within a context so vast that it does not need to consume you, like a small point of light within a very deep sky. Martin Heidegger once wrote, "In Being and Time Anxiety reveals the nothing, but here that nothing is not a frightening void. It is a space wide enough for the mind to rest." When everything becomes too large to control, we are allowed to stop controlling. From the Virgo supercluster to the scale of the observable universe, the flow of thought has carried us away from every familiar center. And within that loss of center, a new kind of peace can emerge. Not the peace of understanding everything, but the peace of being within a reality wide enough that understanding everything is no longer required. If you feel sleepy, now let it come. The universe does not ask you to stay alert before 2 trillion galaxies. It simply continues to exist very slowly, very vast, and allows you to do the simplest thing of all: close your eyes and drift along with it. From the moment we touch the number of 2 trillion galaxies, a number vast enough to dissolve every familiar intuition, the flow of thought does not stop at all. When the mind grows tired from trying to imagine everything the universe invites us to do, the opposite to look at a place that seems to contain nothing at all. And from that apparent emptiness, one of the most contemplative images of modern science was born: the Hubble Deep Field. It was a very strange decision. Instead of pointing the telescope toward bright star-filled regions, scientists aimed Hubble at a dark patch of sky so small that if you were to raise your hand to the night sky, it would be no more than the gap between 2 fingers. Nothing stood out. There was no reason to expect anything remarkable, just a quiet void. And then, as light accumulated over time, the image emerged: countless distant galaxies, each point of light a world of stars unto itself, arriving from different eras of the universe. That moment carries a very gentle lesson: that emptiness is often not as empty as we think, that what we overlook, what we dismiss as nothing, can sometimes be where the most is held. The Hubble Deep Field is not only a scientific achievement, it is a whisper to the human mind, especially on nights when we feel hollow, exhausted, and without anything left to grasp. Ludwig Wittgenstein once wrote in Tractatus Logica Philosophicus, "The limits of my language mean the limits of my world." The Hubble Deep Field expands those limits not through words, but through patience, by staying with emptiness long enough for it to speak. In inner life, we often fear empty space. We fear evenings without plans, moments without answers, the feeling of doing nothing. We fill them with noise, with notifications, with thought after thought. But Hubble did the opposite. It stayed still. And precisely because it stayed still, it saw more. There is a quiet parallel between how the Hubble Deep Field was created and how a mind heals. Not by finding more answers, but by allowing silence to last. When silence remains long enough, deeper things, galaxies of memory, of feeling, of meaning begin to appear. Simone Weil once wrote, "In waiting for God, attention is the rarest and purest form of generosity." The attention Hubble gave to that empty patch of sky was such a form of generosity. And when we learn to give attention to the empty spaces within ourselves, without judgment, without rushing to fill them, we offer ourselves a similar gift. When we look at the Hubble Deep Field, we do not only see more galaxies, we see time layered upon time. Light from the most distant galaxies began its journey when the universe was very young, which means that in a single image we are seeing multiple epochs existing together. Our present intersects with the universe's past, And if we allow ourselves to stay with that feeling, it can dissolve all urgency. Martin Heidegger once wrote in Being and Time is not a container in which events occur. The Hubble Deep Field reveals time as something like overlapping veils where moments do not stand apart but coexist. When we sense this, the pressure to keep up with time softens. Time does not abandon us. It surrounds us. Perhaps the most comforting thing about the Hubble Deep Field is its quiet reassurance that no place is truly empty. Even where we believe there is nothing, the universe is still patiently at work. Even when we feel we are not moving forward, not creating anything, life continues on deeper, slower, more enduring levels. Carl Jung once wrote in Memories, Dreams, Reflections, "In all chaos there is a cosmos, in all disorder a secret order." The Hubble Deep Field is a proof written in light. In a dark patch of sky there is a profound order. In a mind that feels tangled, a new structure may be forming if we are patient enough to look. At this point, the narrative shifts from scale to perception. It no longer expands space outward, but digs into what has been overlooked. From 2 trillion galaxies, we return to a single tiny point. Yet that point opens more than all previous expansions. As in life, sometimes returning to a place of stillness can carry us farther than any grand plan. If you are listening to these words and feel that you are in an empty zone, a phase that feels unclear, unremarkable, remember the Hubble Deep Field. Remember that the universe once trusted that emptiness and was rewarded with an image that changed how we understand everything. Marcus Aurelius once wrote in Meditations, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." Perhaps the empty region of the sky and the quiet space of the mind are the same invitation to remain, to do nothing more, to understand nothing more, simply to attend. From the overwhelming scale of the observable universe to a tiny patch of the Hubble Deep Field, the flow of thought teaches a very gentle truth. Going far does not always mean expanding. Sometimes it means stopping. And within that stopping, if we are light enough, slow enough, sleep may arrive just as light arrived at Hubble after a very long, very quiet journey. From the moment we pause before the Hubble Deep Field, a patch of sky that appears empty yet holds countless galaxies, the current of thought continues in a very natural direction. Once we have learned how to remain still long enough to see what lies hidden within emptiness, another realization quietly emerges. Each time we look farther into space, we are not only looking outward, we are also looking backward in time. In the universe, light does not arrive instantly. It must travel. It travels for a very long time, through cold expanses, through the bending of space, through the ceaseless expansion of the cosmos. And so, when a telescope turns toward distant galaxies, what it receives is not their present, but memories of light messages sent billions of years ago. To look far, quite literally, is to look into the past. There is a deep, subdued beauty in this truth. It transforms time from a simple line we move along day by day into a kind of depth. When we observe ancient galaxies, we are witnessing the universe in its early stages, when structures were still young, distorted, unsettled. Those galaxies had not yet stabilized. They collided, stretched, and reassembled like an unfinished draft of a much larger painting. And here, chaos is not something to fear. It is a sign of becoming. Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, "One must still have chaos in oneself to be able to give birth to a dancing star." Those young galaxies in their distortion and uncertainty are precisely such dancing stars on a cosmic scale. They remind us that order does not emerge from instant perfection, but from long processes filled with trial and movement. As you listen to this in the night, a part of you may recognize yourself. Human beings, too, are not born complete. Youth, no matter the era, often carries the shape of chaos, unnamed emotions, overlapping thoughts, identities not yet settled. But by looking at the early universe, we can learn a gentler way of being with ourselves. Chaos is not failure. It is a phase. Henri Bergson once wrote in Creative Evolution, "The present contains nothing more than the past, and what is found in the effect was already in the cause." The ancient light of the universe carried within it the seeds of all the structures we see today. In the same way, the uncertain periods of personal life may already hold forms we have not yet learned to recognize with patience. When we look into the cosmic past, we do not only see young galaxies, we see time at work, unhurried, undemanding, simply persistent. Over billions of years, those galaxies gradually became more stable, more rounded, finding their own rhythms of rotation. Not because they struggled to become something, but because they were allowed to exist long enough. This offers a very gentle message to a tired mind. In a world that demands quick results, where everything is measured by efficiency and progress, the universe whispers a different story. Some processes can only unfold over long spans of time, and the fact that you are not yet settled, not yet clear, not yet finished is not a problem that needs immediate fixing. Carl Jung once wrote in Memories, Dreams, Reflections, life does not consist in a series of problems to be solved, but in a mystery to be lived. Looking at the early universe is also a way of learning how to live with that mystery, not to decode it at once, but to walk alongside it. There is something subtle in realizing that the light we see no longer exists at its source. The galaxies have changed. Some have merged. Some have dissolved. What we see is always a version that has already passed. The same is true of human memory. When we look back on our own past, we never touch it as it truly was. We touch the light that remains filtered through time, emotion, and growth. Marcel Proust once wrote in Search of Lost Time, "Remembrance of things past is not necessarily the remembrance of things as they were." The universe teaches us this lesson through light. The past does not stand still for our return. It only sends signals which we receive in the present. From the Hubble Deep Field, where we learn to look into emptiness, to the act of looking far as an act of looking back in time, the flow of thought deepens. Space and time begin to layer upon one another, and within those layers, the human mind may find a different kind of peace. The peace of knowing that everything has a history, including oneself. Marcus Aurelius once wrote in Meditations, "Time is like a river made up of the events which happen and a violent stream, for as soon as a thing has been seen, it is carried away." Yet the universe reminds us that even as the river carries everything onward, it leaves behind reflections enough for us to look back without becoming trapped. If you are listening to these words and feel that you are in a young phase of life, uncertain, unsettled, remember the early galaxies. They did not know what they would become. They simply continued to exist, to interact, to allow time to do its work. And that was enough. To look far is to look into the past. Not to regret it, but to understand that our present too will one day become light for a very distant future. It does not need to be perfect. It only needs to be real. And as this thought gently touches the mind, you may allow your eyelids to grow heavy. The universe took billions of years to tell its story through light. You do not need to hurry for another moment. Just lie still and let time continue to pass very slowly, very gently through you. From looking far enough to touch the universe's past, where galaxies were still young and chaotic, the flow of thought does not stop at the story of time. Once the mind grows accustomed to the idea that everything carries a history, another question quietly emerges: is that chaos truly random? And it is here that the cosmic picture opens into a deeper layer, the cosmic web. At first glance, the night sky appears scattered and disorderly, as if galaxies were thrown randomly into space. But when science began to look on a sufficiently large scale, an unexpected structure revealed itself. Galaxies are not scattered without order. They gather into long filaments connected by immense walls interwoven into a network so vast it exceeds imagination. Between these filaments and walls lie enormous voids regions where almost nothing exists. In this sense, the universe is not a chaos. It resembles a fabric woven very slowly over a very long time, thread by thread, knot by gravity and time. And this brings a curious feeling to the human mind. Even at the largest scales, there is order. Baruch Spinoza once wrote, "In ethics, nothing in nature is random." The cosmic web seems to be a material affirmation of that thought. Not the order of a pre-designed plan, but an order that emerges naturally from simple laws repeated over a long enough span of time. There is a deep resonance between the cosmic web and human inner life. Within us, too, there are threads, memories, relationships, experiences woven together into the structure of the self. And there are also voids, things we cannot recall clearly, silent intervals, parts of ourselves that remain unnamed. We often fear these voids and rush to fill them with thought or activity. But the universe offers another image. Emptiness is not a flaw. It is a necessary part of the structure. Martin Heidegger once wrote, "In Being and Time, the nothing itself nothings. Nothingness is not merely absence, it is a mode of being. In the cosmic web, the vast voids are what allow the filaments and walls to stand out. Without emptiness, there would be no form. Without silence, there would be no rhythm. When we place ourselves within this image, many personal anxieties begin to soften. We often feel that our lives are fragmented, lacking coherence, lacking an overall meaning. But if we look far enough, not only across space but across time, we may begin to sense that what feels random may be participating in a larger structure we cannot yet see. Carl Jung once wrote, "In synchronicity and a causal connecting principle, events are not related causally but meaningfully. The cosmic web is not woven from meaning itself, but the way we contemplate it can awaken meaning. Not to impose purpose onto the universe, but to learn to trust that fragmentation is not the final word." The galaxies within the web do not know they are forming a structure. They simply respond to the gravitational forces around them. Yet this simple response, repeated over billions of years, gives rise to a form visible from immense distances. This carries a gentle lesson for minds exhausted by the demand to live with direction. Perhaps we do not always need to know where we are going in order to arrive somewhere. In modern life, we are surrounded by the expectation that everything must have a clear reason, a plan, a measurable goal. But the universe tells a different story. Galactic filaments form not for a final purpose, but through slow, basic interactions. And it is precisely this slowness that creates beauty. Marcus Aurelius once wrote in Meditations, "Whatever happens to you has been waiting to happen since the beginning of time." Placed beside the image of the cosmic web, this line can be read gently, not that everything is predetermined, but that everything unfolds within a current far longer than we imagine. As the narrative moves from looking back into the past to recognizing the non-random structure of the universe's present, the human mind may find a new kind of support. Not certainty, but trust, the trust that even when we cannot yet see the connections, they may exist on a deeper level. If you are listening to these words at night and feel that your life resembles scattered fragments, work emotions, memories, remember the cosmic web. Remember that galaxies too once appeared scattered before we learned how to look from far enough away. Perhaps what you need is not immediate repair, but a slightly wider view. From looking far enough to see the past to looking wide enough to see structure, this journey teaches a very gentle truth. The world is not random in the way we fear. It is simply more complex than our intuition. And when intuition grows tired, we are allowed to rest. If your eyelids are growing heavy, let this web continue weaving in silence. Galaxies do not rush to complete their picture. You do not need to finish anything right now either. In a universe woven from very slow threads, the simple act of lying still listening and allowing sleep to arrive is a completely natural part of that structure. From the cosmic web, where galaxies gather into filaments and walls within a structure that is not random, the stream of thought drifts naturally toward the spaces that lie between those threads. Once we become familiar with the idea that the universe has order, a very gentle question arises, as light as breath itself: what exists between these orders? And the answer leads us to an image that seems opposite, yet is indispensable: cosmic voids. These voids span hundreds of millions of light years. They are not luminous, not crowded with galaxies, not filled with stories that are easy to tell. On cosmic maps, they appear as vast dark regions where almost nothing exists. But almost does not mean nothing at all. And it is precisely this ambiguity that gives them depth. Within the cosmic web, voids are not mistakes. They are not forgotten spaces, not meaningless gaps. They are the background that allows structure to appear. Without emptiness, galactic filaments would have no shape. Without silence, music would have no rhythm. In its gentle way, the universe reminds us that absence is also a form of presence. Lao Tzu once wrote in the Tao Te Ching, "We shape clay into a pot, but it is the emptiness inside that holds whatever we want." Cosmic voids are that emptiness on the largest possible scale. They hold the space that allows everything else to be what it is. Perhaps that is why when people learn about cosmic voids, they do not always feel fear, but calm. In inner life, everyone carries similar spaces, periods of uncertainty, moments when we feel little think, little want to go nowhere. We often rush to fill these spaces with activity, with plans, with noise. But the universe does not rush. It allows its voids to exist for billions of years without justification, without repair. Martin Heidegger once wrote, "In being and time, anxiety reveals the nothing." That nothing is not a terrifying void, but an opening in which meaning may arise. Cosmic voids are the same. They do not tell loud stories, but their silence gives the entire picture its depth. When we look at maps of the universe, voids occupy most of the space, which means most of the universe is quiet. If we allow ourselves to feel this, the heartbeat can slow. For if silence is the dominant state of the universe, then our need for silence, our need for rest, is not abnormal. It is aligned with the larger scale. Blaise Pascal once wrote in Pensée, "All the unhappiness of men arises from one single fact that they cannot stay quietly in their own chamber." The universe seems to have learned this lesson very early. It does not fill every region with motion. It leaves vast empty spaces to create balance. There is a gentle paradox in thinking about cosmic voids because they contain little matter. They exert little gravitational pull, causing galaxies to be pushed farther away, allowing the voids to grow larger over time. Silence, in this sense, expands itself, without effort, without proof, simply by being what it is. Carl Jung once wrote in The Undiscovered Self, "The more the critical reason dominates, the more impoverished life becomes." Cosmic voids remind us of another kind of richness, the richness of space, a possibility of what has not yet happened. In personal life, sometimes doing nothing, deciding nothing, responding nothing at once is precisely how life breathes. As the narrative moves from the cosmic web to the voids between it, we may feel a subtle shift in rhythm from structure to stillness. Not to deny order, but to complete it. The universe is not only made of connections, it is also made of what does not need to connect in order to matter. In the night, as you listen to these words, you may find yourself in a void of your own. It fades without clear signals, without sharp answers, without intense emotion. If so, let the universe keep you company. It has devoted most of its expanse to such spaces and continues to exist very quietly, very steadily. Marcus Aurelius once wrote in Meditations, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." Cosmic voids offer an image of such a refuge, not to escape life, but to rest within it. Perhaps the most healing aspect of cosmic voids lies not in science, but in permission. Permission for nothing to happen. Permission not to move forward. Permission not to become a better version immediately. In a world that constantly urges motion voids, whisper, "You may stop." From the non-random structure of the cosmic web to the deliberate quiet of its voids, the flow of thought brings us to a very soft understanding the universe does not operate only through what is present, but also through what is left open. And human beings, as part of the universe, do not need to fill every moment in order to be alive. If your eyelids are growing heavy, let that happen. There is nothing more to follow, nothing more to understand. In a universe where spaces hundreds of millions of light years wide are allowed to exist, your lying, still breathing slowly, and allowing sleep to arrive is not merely enough. It is perfectly in harmony with the way things have always been. From the vast cosmic voids where silence occupies most of the universe, the stream of thought does not end with nothingness. Once we learn how to remain still within emptiness, another question begins to surface very gently: what is holding everything together? If galaxies do not disperse at random, if the cosmic web has structure, if even the voids retain their shape, then something must be quietly at work. And it is here that we encounter dark matter, the invisible architect of the universe. Dark matter does not emit light. It does not reflect light. It cannot be seen by any telescope, yet it makes up most of the universe's mass, and it determines how galaxies form, move, and retain their structure. Without dark matter, galaxies would spin so fast they would tear themselves apart. Without it, the cosmic web would never have been woven. The strangest thing is this: what matters most is what cannot be seen. There is a deep comfort in this truth, for humans have long been accustomed to measuring value by what appears: achievements, results, images, words. But the universe, in its quiet way, tells a different story. What holds everything in place does not need to be visible. It only needs to be present. Plato once wrote in the Republic, "The visible realm should be likened to the prison dwelling." Dark matter reminds us that reality does not coincide with what we see. There are deeper layers operating silently without asking for recognition. In inner life, we carry our own forms of dark matter: unnamed beliefs, faded memories, background feelings, safety or unease that shape how we move through life even though we are rarely conscious of them. They are not loud. They do not appear on the surface, yet they determine our trajectories. Carl Jung once wrote in The Archetypes and the Collective Unconscious, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. The universe's dark matter resembles the human unconscious, not something we directly control, but something that holds the structure. What is striking is this: scientists do not see dark matter. They infer its existence from its effects, from the way galaxies rotate, from the way light bends. Its presence is known through consequences, not appearance. This carries a very gentle lesson for minds that often ask, do I have value? Perhaps your value does not lie in what you display, but in the quiet effects you leave behind. Baruch Spinoza once wrote in Ethics, "By reality and perfection I mean the same thing. If that is so, then dark matter, though unseen, is still a form of perfection. It does not need light to prove that it is real." Placing ourselves within this story, we may feel a subtle shift from emptiness to holding. Cosmic voids do not collapse or dissolve because invisible fields quietly define their boundaries. In the same way, empty periods in human life are not necessarily signs of being lost. Deeper structures may be forming silently. Martin Heidegger once wrote in Being and Time, "The most thought-provoking thing in our thought-provoking time is that we are still not thinking. Dark matter invites a different kind of thinking. Thinking about what does not need to be illuminated in order to exist. In a world that demands clarity, transparency, and measurability, accepting the existence of something invisible yet decisive is an act of humility. It reminds us that not every question has a direct answer. Not every foundation needs to be exposed, and not everything important needs to be named." Marcus Aurelius once wrote in Meditations, "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth." Dark matter lives at the edge of this truth, where we know that something is at work, even if we cannot grasp it with language or image. As the narrative moves from voids to the invisible architect of the universe, the human mind may soften in a particular way. The pressure to understand everything fades. The need to illuminate every shadow loosens. In its place grows a quiet trust. Things may be held even when we cannot see how. If you are listening to these words at night and feel that your life is guided by invisible forces, habits, beliefs, attachments, remember that the universe is the same. Most of what keeps it standing never appears on the surface, and that does not weaken it. It strengthens it. Perhaps the most healing lesson of dark matter is the permission not to shine, not to prove, not to be seen. You may simply be a holding force for yourself or for someone else without ever naming that role. From the web to the voids to dark matter, the stream of thought draws us deeper into the unseen layers of reality. And there, instead of confusion, we may find a low, steady peace, the peace of knowing that even in darkness there is order. If your eyelids are growing heavy, let that happen. Dark matter does not need light to do its work. You do not need to stay alert any longer to earn rest. In a universe upheld by invisible forces, your lying still breathing slowly and loosening the mind is not only natural, it is in rhythm. From the invisible forces of dark matter quietly holding the cosmic structure together, the flow of thought moves toward the place where those forces become most visible through motion galaxy clusters. When many galaxies gather bound by shared gravity, they do not remain still. They drift toward one another very slowly over immense spans of time. And sometimes, after hundreds of millions of years, they collide, not loudly, not explosively as human imagination might expect, but like a dance so extended that individual steps are almost impossible to notice. In the universe, collision does not mean instant destruction. Galaxies rarely crash into each other like solid objects. Most of the space between stars is empty. What actually happens is an interweaving of force fields, clouds of gas stretched, compressed, and twisted together. The outcomes can vary. In some regions, new stars ignite. In others, star formation is quenched. Collision here is creation and ending at the same time. There is a strange comfort in this idea. In human life, we often fear collisions, conflict, change moments when two trajectories intersect. We call them crises, but the universe tells a slower story. Not every collision is a mistake. Some require so much time that only in retrospect do we realize they have reshaped our entire sky. Heraclitus once wrote, "No man ever steps in the same river twice." Galaxy clusters live by the same truth. With each interaction, the flow changes. There is no return to what was before, yet the change is unhurried, slow enough to allow every component to adapt. Within these slow collisions, there is a rhythm worth learning. Humans are accustomed to rapid events, instant decisions, instant reactions, instant conclusions, but the universe operates on different timescales. When two galaxies draw near, they may influence one another for hundreds of millions of years before merging. Throughout that long interval, they both change and preserve something essential of themselves. This offers a gentle way of seeing relationships and inner transformations. Not every change needs to be resolved immediately. Not every collision requires a quick conclusion. Some things need to remain in a state of becoming long enough for their meaning to reveal itself. Carl Jung once wrote, "In the transcendent function, there is no coming to consciousness without pain." Yet he also emphasized that transformation takes time. Cosmic collisions give us a tender metaphor. Pain is not necessarily destruction. It can be kinetic energy for a new structure. In galaxy clusters, we see once again the role of dark matter. These invisible frameworks guide the paths, ensuring that collisions are not purely chaotic. There is order within motion. There is rhythm within change. And that rhythm, if we listen, does not rush. Marcus Aurelius once wrote in Meditations, "Nature does nothing hurriedly." It is a sentence that seems written for collisions lasting hundreds of millions of years. The universe does not force outcomes. It allows processes to complete themselves. There is a striking paradox here. The same collision can both ignite new life and end an era. When gas is compressed, new stars are born. When gas is stripped away, star formation ceases. There is no moral judgment in this, only cycles. And those cycles do not favor beginnings over endings, they contain both. Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, "And do you know what the world is to me? Shall I show it to you in my mirror? This world, a monster of energy without beginning, without end." Slow collisions are how the universe reorganizes its energy without clear starting points or final conclusions. As the narrative flows from dark matter to galaxy clusters, we move from holding to motion. Not hurried motion, but motion with depth. And within that depth, the human mind may learn not to rush its judgments about itself. There are seasons of life that resemble two galaxies drawing near, many influences, much disturbance, yet no need to name the outcome. In the night, as you listen to these words, you may find yourself in a slow collision of your own, a change that is quiet yet prolonged. A relationship, a career, an old way of seeing being gradually stretched. If so, let the universe accompany you. It does not demand that you decide right now who you will become after the collision. Simone Weil once wrote in Gravity and Grace, "Grace fills empty spaces, but it can only enter where there is a void to receive it. Cosmic collisions create new spaces, new distributions, and it is precisely those spaces that make room for something else to appear. From the web to the voids to dark matter, and now to slow collisions, the stream of thought shifts from stillness to motion, yet keeps its unhurried pace. There are no sudden leaps, only gentle continuities. The universe does not pressure galaxies to finish their processes. It gives them time, an immense amount of time. If your eyelids are growing heavy, allow this motion to continue without your attention. Galaxies will keep colliding, merging, giving birth to stars, and letting them fade whether you are watching or not. You do not need to stay awake for things to unfold as they should. In a universe where the most important collisions happen very slowly, allowing yourself to slow down, to breathe evenly, to soften, and to let sleep arrive is not avoidance. It is alignment. From the slow collisions of galaxy clusters where movement unfolds not through explosions but through patience, the stream of thought naturally drifts toward a vision that feels close, yet remains far beyond a human lifetime, the future of our own Milky Way. Once we become familiar with the idea that galaxies can meet and influence one another over hundreds of millions of years, a gentle question arises: what lies ahead for our home? The answer does not come as a prophecy, but as a very slow continuation. The Milky Way and Andromeda are moving toward each other, not in haste, not noisily. In a few billion years, a span so long that all of human history is no more than a blink, the two galaxies will merge, weaving a new structure. This will not be the end of the Milky Way, nor the victory of Andromeda. It will be a becoming. What is striking is that this merger carries no sense of catastrophe. Stars rarely collide directly. The space between them is too vast. Instead, there is a long dance orbits shift streams of gas, intermingle structures rearrange themselves. Some regions will give birth to new stars, others will grow quiet. Yet the entire process unfolds slowly enough that there is no need for fear. Perhaps it is this slowness that holds a healing quality. Humans often fear the future as a shock, something that arrives suddenly and shatters familiar order. But the universe tells a different story. The greatest changes do not need to rush. They can arrive as a gradual dissolving of the old into the new, where nothing is completely erased. Heraclitus once wrote, "Change is the only constant." But when placed beside the future of the Milky Way, this line can be read with a different rhythm. Change does not have to be violent. It can be gentle, a process in which what is familiar is carried forward, rearranged, and allowed to live on in a new form. To think about the merging of the Milky Way and Andromeda is also to think in timescales beyond human life. None of us will witness that moment. And this, rather than making it feel distant, can bring a sense of relief. If the greatest future of our home does not require our presence to unfold, then perhaps our own lives do not need to carry the burden of completing everything. Marcus Aurelius once wrote in Meditations, "Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years, not as a call to rush, but as an invitation to live one's proper portion. The universe will continue after us, and that is all right." Within this coming merger lies a quiet metaphor for identity. When two galaxies unite, they do not vanish into nothingness. They carry their histories, their orbits, their stars. Yet after the merger, they can no longer be called Milky Way or Andromeda in the old sense. A new name, a new form will emerge, not because the old was wrong, but because the new has ripened. Carl Jung once wrote in The Relations between the ego and the unconscious, "The creation of something new is not accomplished by the intellect, but by the play instinct." The merging of galaxies is not an intellectual decision. It is the outcome of a long play of gravity and time. And within that play, there is no winning or losing, only transformation. This touches the human experience very gently. Each of us passes through inner mergers of our own when different parts of the self, past and present desire, and reality, the old self and the one still forming, begin to draw closer. There is no need to force reconciliation. They require time to learn how to coexist within a new structure. As the narrative moves from slow collisions to the future of the Milky Way, you may sense a shift from conflict toward integration. Not every collision leads to fragmentation. Some lead to a deeper union, and that union does not erase differences, it holds them. Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, "And all becoming is hard." Yet he also suggests that becoming is unavoidable. The future of the Milky Way is not a choice, it is a natural tendency. And within that inevitability lies a quiet peace. There is no need to decide who you will be billions of years from now in order to rest tonight. Perhaps the most comforting aspect of contemplating that distant future is the feeling of being placed within a larger current. Present worries, however real, begin to shrink when set beside movements that span billions of years. Not to deny them, but to keep them from filling the entire inner sky. Simone Weil once wrote, "In gravity and grace, time is the most precious thing we have." And yet the universe reminds us that time is also something we inhabit, not something we must conquer. The Milky Way and Andromeda do not hurry to merge. They allow time to do its work. As you listen to these words in the night, you may find yourself thinking about your own future changes, not yet arrived things, not yet clear. If so, let the image of two galaxies slowly approaching one another soften you. There is no need to know exactly what will happen. It is enough to know that change can move very slowly, and that within that slowness, you are allowed to breathe evenly. From dark matter to collisions to the future of the Milky Way, the stream of thought has carried us from the invisible forces of the present to the distant horizons of the future. And at this point in the night, perhaps what is needed most is not further understanding, but a gentle release of unanswered questions, release of the need to see outcomes. If your eyelids are growing heavy, let that happen. The Milky Way and Andromeda will continue their journey whether you are awake or asleep. And you in this moment do not need to become anything other than yourself. In a universe where the greatest unions unfold very slowly, allowing yourself to rest is how you fall into rhythm with the future. From the distant vision in which the Milky Way and Andromeda slowly move toward one another, not through violence, but through patience, the stream of thought opens in an even quieter direction. Once we grow accustomed to the idea that galaxies have futures, motion and processes of becoming a more fundamental question begins to surface. How is the universe itself moving? And the answer, simple at first glance, reshapes the entire way we imagine reality. Galaxies are not flying through space. Space itself is expanding. At first, this idea can feel disorienting. We are used to thinking of motion as one object moving away from another. But in the universe, galaxies are not fleeing from each other. They remain largely at rest within their own frames, while the distance between them increases because the very foundation of everything space is being stretched. Like ink dots on a rubber sheet being pulled apart, no dot moves on its own, yet all become farther apart. There is a particular gentleness in this image. It suggests that separation does not always arise from intention or conflict. Sometimes a change in context is enough for things no longer to be as close as they once were. Martin Heidegger once wrote, "In being and time-space is not something that stands opposed to us. It is not an object external to us. Space is not merely where we exist. It is a condition of existence itself." When space expands, every relationship within it shifts, not because it chooses to, but because the shared ground has changed. This echoes deeply in human life. There are moments when we feel ourselves drifting away from others, from roles, from what once felt familiar. We may blame ourselves or blame circumstance, but the universe whispers another possibility. Perhaps the space between us has changed, and the distance is not personal. It is the result of a larger movement. The expansion of the universe does not happen in an instant. It unfolds slowly, persistently from very early after the Big Bang until now. There is no center to this expansion, no fixed point of rest for comparison. From anywhere, every other place appears to be moving away. This carries a humbling lesson. There is no privileged position in the universe. Blaise Pascal once wrote in Pensée, "The universe is a sphere whose center is everywhere and whose circumference is nowhere." Written centuries ago, this line seems to anticipate the intuition of an expanding universe, one without a fixed center where every point is relative. As we hear about this expansion in the night, the mind can soften. There is less need to hold tightly to everything. For if space itself is opening, then relationships, roles, and phases of life expanding over time is natural. Not every distance is a loss. Some distances are room to breathe. Carl Jung once wrote in The Undiscovered Self, "The more a man's life is shaped by the collective norm, the greater is his individual immorality." The expansion of the universe reminds us that there is no single mold for all life. Each structure needs its own space to grow, and sometimes expanding is the only way not to suffocate one another. There is a quiet paradox in cosmic expansion. Even as everything grows farther apart, the universe does not fall into chaos. It retains structure, maintains networks, preserves order. Increasing distance does not destroy meaning. It redistributes it. Just as in inner life, when we give an emotion space, it does not vanish. It becomes easier to see. Marcus Aurelius once wrote in Meditations, "Everything is interwoven and the web is holy." Expansion does not tear this web apart. It stretches the threads, making them finer, more subtle. And in that subtlety, the mind can learn to treat itself more gently. As the narrative moves from the future of the Milky Way to the expansion of the entire universe, you may feel a soft shift from the story of what will happen to the story of what is happening right now. The universe is not waiting for the future to change. It is changing moment by moment, very slowly. Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, "All things are in flux." Here, flux does not mean instability. It means aliveness. A universe that stands still would be a dead universe. A mind that does not expand would be the same. Perhaps on this night you feel a need for more space. Space to think, to breathe, to refrain from reacting. If so, let the image of an expanding universe comfort you. You do not need to keep everything at its old distance. You do not need to preserve every structure as it was. Allowing space to open is not abandonment, it is adaptation. Simone Weil once wrote in Gravity and Grace, "Detachment is not that you own nothing, but that nothing owns you." The expansion of the universe teaches a form of detachment like this, not by retreating, but by widening the ground itself. From slow collisions to merging to ceaseless expansion, the stream of thought tonight carries us through vast movements without urgency. And here perhaps the most healing realization is this: you do not need to keep up with the universe. The universe is not running. It is simply opening. If your eyelids are growing heavy, let this space continue to expand without your attention. Galaxies will be farther apart tomorrow. Space will keep unfolding whether you are awake or asleep. And you in this moment may allow yourself to lie still, giving everything a little more room, including sleep. From the idea of an expanding universe where space itself stretches, lengthening every distance, the stream of thought does not stop at motion alone. As scientists measured more carefully, listening more attentively to the universe's breathing, they discovered something even stranger: that expansion is not merely continuing, but accelerating. As if there were an invisible force, too subtle to touch, yet powerful enough to shape the fate of space itself. And the provisional name given to this force is dark energy. Dark energy is not something we can see. It does not emit light. It has no shape. It leaves no direct trace. Yet it makes up most of the universe's content, and it is what causes galaxies to move away from one another faster over time. If dark matter is the architect that holds structures together, then dark energy is the silent push, expanding the stage on which everything unfolds. There is a rare kind of humility in the way science approaches dark energy. We know it exists because we see its effects, but we do not yet know what it is. And this not knowing is not a failure. It is an opening. A reminder that even as knowledge advances, the universe preserves its most fundamental secrets. Socrates is said to have declared, as recorded by Plato in Apology, "I know that I know nothing." Dark energy returns science and humanity to that posture of humility, not to make us uneasy, but to free us from the illusion that everything must have an immediate explanation. In inner life, each of us may encounter a form of dark energy of our own, unnamed tendencies, impulses toward change whose origins we cannot trace, a sense that life is opening in a certain direction, even though we did not consciously choose it. We often try to explain, to control, to label, but the universe whispers another possibility. Some movements do not need to be fully understood in order to be real. Carl Jung once wrote in Psychology and Alchemy, "The unconscious is not just evil by nature, it is also the source of the highest good." The universe's dark energy, in a distant way, echoes the human unconscious, a quiet, elusive source that nonetheless shapes long-term direction. What makes dark energy especially striking is not only its mystery, but its acceleration. The universe is not simply expanding. It is expanding faster and faster. Not because there is a destination to reach, but because the very fabric of space is being pushed more strongly over time. This image carries a peculiar resonance for the mind. Change is not always linear. Sometimes it accumulates and then reveals itself. Human life reflects this as well. There are periods that seem stable, and then suddenly everything moves more quickly. Awareness shifts, priorities change, new distances appear. We may fear that speed, but the universe tells a different story. Acceleration is not necessarily loss of control. It can be the natural outcome of a structure that has ripened. Marcus Aurelius once wrote in Meditations, "Nature loves change, but nature does not change to cause panic. It changes in order to continue existing." Dark energy does not destroy the universe. It grants the universe more room to unfold. When we place ourselves within this picture, a subtle relief can arise. If most of the universe is governed by a force we do not yet understand, then not fully understanding our own lives right now is not something to be ashamed of. It simply reflects the truth that reality is larger than any system of comprehension. Blaise Pascal once wrote in Pensées, "The heart has its reasons which reason knows not." Dark energy is in a sense the reason of space that reason has not yet reached. And perhaps healing lies in allowing such reasons to exist without forcing them to speak. As the night's narrative moves from expansion to acceleration, it shifts from image to impulse, not only opening, but opening with increasing strength. This can tire the mind if we try to follow every detail, but if we step back, we may feel a deeper rhythm. The universe is not afraid of its own motion. It trusts the laws at work even when they have not yet been fully named. Martin Heidegger once wrote, "In Being and Time, the mystery of being is concealed." Dark energy is one way in which existence conceals itself, not to evade us, but to preserve depth. A reality without mystery would be flat. A life without the unknown would be shallow. As you listen to these words in the night, you may sense a vague pushing force in your own life. A need to expand. A distance growing. A future you cannot yet name. If so, let the image of dark energy comfort you. Not every movement needs the consent of consciousness. Not every acceleration is a sign of disorder. Simone Weil once wrote in Gravity and Grace, "Grace is the law of the descending movement." Dark energy invites us to imagine another kind of grace, the grace of being opened, of being given more space, even when we do not yet understand why. From dark matter, the force that holds to dark energy, the force that pushes the cosmic picture, becomes strangely balanced. Holding and opening, stability and acceleration, order and mystery, and humanity resting in between does not need to choose a side. We only need to breathe in rhythm with the truth that reality is larger than any frame we place upon it. If your eyelids are growing heavy, let that happen. Dark energy does not need to be seen in order to work. It does not require your attention to continue pushing the universe open, and you in this moment do not need to understand anything more to be allowed to rest. In a universe largely governed by forces not yet understood, lying still, breathing slowly, and allowing sleep to arrive is not surrender. It is trust. From dark energy, the invisible force that drives the universe to open ever faster, the stream of thought naturally touches a very subtle boundary. Not a boundary of matter, not a boundary of space, but a boundary of what we are able to see. Once we accept that most of the universe is governed by forces we do not yet understand, a gentle question arises: what lies beyond our sight? And the answer is not nothing, but rather very much only the light has not yet arrived. The observable universe has a limit, not because the universe ends there, but because light requires time to travel. There are regions of space so distant that light from them has never reached Earth since the universe began. They lie beyond the cosmic horizon, not because they do not exist, but because they have not yet become knowable. There is a quiet beauty in this idea. It tells us that not knowing is not the same as non-existence, that what we have not yet seen is not what is not there, and that the limits of perception are not the limits of reality. Immanuel Kant once wrote in Critique of Pure Reason, "The understanding does not derive its laws from nature, but prescribes them to nature." Yet the observable universe reminds us that there are places where even understanding must pause, not as a failure, but as humility. In human life, we often confuse not yet seen with does not exist. We judge ourselves, others, and the future based on what has already appeared within view. But just as light needs time to arrive, there are possibilities, meanings, and paths that have not yet emerged, not because they are absent, but because time has not been sufficient. Carl Jung once wrote in the Red Book, "What is to come is created in you and from you. Yet what is to come does not always stand before our eyes. It may be beyond the horizon of consciousness, waiting for its own light." The limit of what can be observed carries a gentle lesson. Not everything needs to be known immediately in order to be allowed to exist. The universe does not force light to arrive sooner. It is not impatient. It lets time do its work. And because of this, the universe does not panic about what has not yet been seen. Blaise Pascal once wrote in Pensées, "We are something and we are not everything." Those words resonate clearly when we stand before the cosmic horizon. We may know a great deal, but we do not need to know everything in order to belong to reality. There is a tender paradox here. When we accept that the observable universe has limits, the anxiety of not understanding everything begins to dissolve. For if even the universe allows itself regions that are not yet known, then human beings, a very small part of it, are also permitted to be unclear, unfinished, incomplete. Martin Heidegger once wrote in Being and Time, "The boundary is not that at which something stops, but that from which something begins." The limit of observability is not where the universe ends, but where curiosity begins. Not a curiosity that seeks to possess, but one that learns how to live alongside openness. As the narrative drifts from dark energy, the accelerating push to the limits of observation, the rhythm of the night slows. No longer strong motion, but a very gentle pause. A resting place for the mind. A reminder that not every question needs to travel farther. Some questions only need to be set down. Marcus Aurelius once wrote in Meditations, "Be content with what you are and wish not change," not as a rejection of discovery, but as a way of not losing peace while discovering. The universe has an observable boundary, and so do we. What matters is not breaking every boundary, but knowing when to stop. In this light, limits are no longer a lack. They become a form of protection. If we could see everything at once, the mind would fracture. If we knew everything immediately, lived experience would lose its depth. Light arrives gradually, just as meaning arrives for human beings, slowly and at the right time. Simone Weil once wrote in Waiting for God, attention is the rarest and purest form of generosity. Attending to what is present rather than worrying about what has not yet appeared is a form of generosity toward oneself. The universe does not ask us to see beyond the horizon of light. It only asks us to be here in this moment. As you listen to these words in the night, you may find yourself standing before a horizon of your own, an unclear future, an answer not yet arrived, a part of yourself not yet named. If so, let the image of the observable universe soften you. Not everything unseen is a loss. Some things simply have not arrived yet. From the push of dark energy to the boundary of light, the stream of thought has led us to a very quiet place, the permission not to know. Not knowing is not the failure of intelligence. It is the space where intelligence can rest. Not knowing is not emptiness, it is depth. If your eyelids are growing heavy, let that happen. You do not need to look beyond the cosmic horizon to complete tonight's journey. The universe will continue to open with or without your attention. And you, in this moment, may allow yourself to remain within what has already been illuminated, warm enough, safe enough for sleep to arrive naturally. In a reality where boundaries exist not to end, but to begin, your pausing, breathing slowly, and loosening the mind is not giving up. It is the wisdom of the night. From the boundary of what can be observed where light has not yet arrived, and knowledge knows how to pause, the stream of thought closes not with a conclusion, but with a settling. After traveling very far, very wide, very deep with the universe, a simple realization gradually appears as light is the final breath of the night. Human beings are not at the center of the universe, and that is not a tragedy. For a long stretch of history, humanity needed to believe it stood at the center. Earth at the center, the sun circling us, the universe existing to witness us. That belief once offered safety, meaning, and order. But layer by layer, science gently removed those centers, not through violence, but through patience. And each time the center shifted, a deeper question opened. If we are not at the center, then where does our value lie? Perhaps the answer rests in the journey we have just taken. Even without standing at the center, human beings possess the ability to understand, to measure, and to tell the story of the entire universe. A small creature living on an ordinary planet, orbiting an unremarkable star, positioned on the outskirts of a galaxy, yet capable of constructing models of the Big Bang, of dark matter, of dark energy, of the limits of light itself. Not because the universe needs to be narrated, but because humans need to narrate. Carl Sagan once wrote in Cosmos, "We are a way for the cosmos to know itself." This line does not place humanity on a throne. It assigns a subtler role, the listener and the storyteller. The universe has no intention. It does not seek meaning in the way humans do. Yet human beings, through reflection, curiosity, and the need for connection, create meaning through the very act of questioning. Not to control the universe, but to inhabit it with awareness. There is a quiet beauty in this truth, that we do not need to be central in order to be allowed to exist. That value does not arise from position, but from perception. In a universe vast enough not to care about us, the fact that we still care about it, and about one another, is already something rare. Immanuel Kant wrote in Critique of Practical Reason, "Two things fill the mind with ever new and increasing admiration and awe, the starry heavens above me and the moral law within me." The starry sky does not need us to exist, but the capacity to feel awe before it, the capacity to sense wonder, is profoundly human. Looking back on the entire journey, we see humanity repeatedly displaced from the center. Not the center of the solar system, not the center of the Milky Way, not the center of the observable universe. Yet alongside the loss of that center, another space opens, the space of humility, of intelligence, of storytelling. And storytelling here is not fiction. It is the way humans connect scattered fragments, ancient light-cold data, abstract equations into a flow that can be felt. The universe does not speak, but humans learn to listen to its traces and translate them into language. Hannah Arendt once wrote in The Human Condition Storytelling reveals meaning without committing the error of defining it. Science tells the story of the universe not to confine meaning, but to open it. Perhaps the most healing insight in this final contemplation is liberation from the pressure to be important. You do not need to be at the center for your life to have value. You do not need to leave a cosmic imprint to be allowed to rest tonight. Your being here, thinking, feeling, listening is already a legitimate part of this whole. Marcus Aurelius once wrote in Meditations, "Everything is only for a day, both that which remembers and that which is remembered, not to make things meaningless, but to make them lighter." In the vast picture of the universe, a human life may be only a very brief moment. Yet that moment carries depth, awareness, the ability to reflect the immensity it cannot control, and that in a very quiet way is enough. As the narrative reaches this point, there is nothing left to expand. No more galaxies, no more numbers, no more theories. Only a simple feeling remains being within the universe without needing to stand at its center. Simone Weil once wrote in Gravity and Grace, "To be rooted is perhaps the most important and least recognized need of the human soul. Perhaps recognizing oneself as a part rather than the center is precisely a form of being rooted. Rooted in the whole not through power, but through belonging." If you are listening to these words and feel your eyelids growing heavy, let that happen. You have traveled far tonight, not with the body, but with the mind. There is no need to carry answers with you. No need to hold on to knowledge. These stories did not come to make you more alert, but to make you lighter. The universe will continue to open, expand, and change with or without human attention. But tonight, in this very small moment, you have done something deeply human. You have listened. And within that listening, there is a peace that requires no center, no conclusion. Just be here, and let sleep arrive. And now, as this journey slowly draws to a close, not with an answer, but with a pause, perhaps what matters most is not what you have just heard, but what you no longer need to carry with you. Throughout this night, we have traveled far. From the familiar sky through distant galaxies, invisible forces, vast emptiness, and even the boundaries where light has not yet arrived. Not so that you would understand the universe, not so that you would remember its concepts, but so that each layer of tension in the mind could loosen very gently, very slowly. At this point in the night, perhaps it is time to return to something that sounds simple, yet is rarely something we allow ourselves to believe. You do not need to be at the center. You do not need to become special. You do not need to understand everything in order to be allowed to rest. The universe does not ask you to understand it. It only opens quietly and allows you to be a very small part within it. And just like the universe, your body knows how to sleep. It knows when to let go. It knows when to soften. You do not need to do anything more. No need to follow. No need to keep thinking. Let these stories dissolve like light fading beyond the horizon. Let your mind drift into that safe openness where there are no questions to answer, nothing left to complete. Tonight you have gone far enough. Now rest.